Major weather pattern change is coming to the United States over the next few days, and this will drag a powerful cold front across from Canada into the United States, bringing much cooler temperatures, lower humidity, and drier air to the north, and warmth, a lot more humidity, and wetter weather to the south. We're also going to look at your long-range forecasts and your tropical weather update, including your long-range tropical weather update in this video. If you do find my videos informative, helpful for you, and life-saving, make sure to like the video and share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. Subscribe to my channels. We do daily updates, and comment in the comment section down below. Let's look at the forecast on this Wednesday, August the 20th, 2025, and just breaking it down. In orange, that is a ridge of high pressure. In the blue, that is low pressure, and the big blue down here in the southwest Atlantic is Hurricane Erin. We'll get to momentarily. Notice the blue, though, over here into Western Canada, British Columbia, and Alberta. That is a low pressure trough, and that low pressure system will be sweeping across the southern Canadian prairies this week and arriving into the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and deepening this weekend, peaking in intensity by Sunday, August 24th. Why that's important is because we are going to be seeing a much different air mass up across the northern U.S. as we go deeper into the week. Here we are today for high temperatures. We got record-breaking heat out west. By the way, get used to that big heat wave out west. In fact, we have heat alerts where we have orange, that is heat advisories, magenta, those are extreme heat warnings where we are gearing up for a major heat wave out across the western U.S. Still have a couple of heat advisories down there in the lower Mississippi Valley into Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Also some extreme heat warnings near and just west of Jackson, Mississippi for another day or so. We also have heat advisories over there in Miami-Dade County in southeastern Florida that we're continuing to keep an eye on. And then that's all due to the heat here. So again, high temperatures into the 90s, triple digits as we go through today in those areas. It is a little bit cooler, less humid across the upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, and especially the Northeast today and going into your day on Thursday. And then Friday, here comes that front, and you could see it starting to cool off the northern plains such as the Dakotas and Minnesota, and making for a lot of heat out west, California, the Sacramento Valley, up there into the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Idaho. We're going to see a lot of heat building once we get to the end of the week, so make sure to stay hydrated out across those areas. Like we mentioned, we are seeing a major weather pattern change across the United States, and including low pressure system in southern Canada will swing a powerful cold front with drier air and much cooler air southward from Canada into the United States by the weekend. And look how far south that front gets. It makes it into the Dallas area, makes it into Jackson, Mississippi, and Nashville by the time we get to Sunday at the end of the weekend. And early next week, it clears off the Gulf Coast and the eastern seaboard with Canadian high pressure, which is drier pressure across portions of the upper Midwest, forcing the storm track further south by the middle of next week. So let's take a look at our temperature anomalies for this upcoming weekend on Saturday, August 23rd and Sunday, August 24th, where you see the blues and greens. That's where we are easily 10, 15, even locally 20 degrees below normal with our temperature anomalies heading into the weekend, and that actually continues even further once we go into early next week and dropping further south as well. So let's take a look at that. High temperatures forecasted currently for Saturday, August 23rd, 60s and 70s across the upper Midwest here, a fall-like air mass where we're still seeing some heat down here to the south. At least it's not record-breaking from Texas eastward into the Dixie Alley and into the southeast, but it's still hot into the mid and upper 90s at times. The real heat is out across the west, including the Pacific Northwest this weekend. But here comes the cooler air, upper 50s, folks. I mean, for late August, this is absurd to see this cool of temperatures. That's how strong our cold front will be across the Arrowhead of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the western UP of Michigan. Now let's look at our low temperatures heading into Sunday morning, because our lows will be widespread in the mid and upper 40s, low 50s. Plenty of cool to open up those windows out there across the northern plains, upper Midwest for Sunday morning. Monday morning, we get so cool, we might have to talk about patchy frost in the forecast for parts of northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. And if that's not enough, mid to upper 30s potentially forecasted for northern Wisconsin, the Arrowhead of Minnesota, and the western UP of Michigan closer to Lake Superior once we get into early next week by Tuesday morning on August 26th. And in that transition, we're going to be looking at the threat for severe weather. Now, it's not a big outbreak or anything like that. We're not going to see any strong tornadoes, but there still could be some isolated severe weather where you see dark green today from Texas Hill Country there into portions of Louisiana, stretching eastward through Dixie Alley of Mississippi, Alabama, up toward Chattanooga there in Tennessee, and just outside the Atlanta area in northern Georgia. Also turning our attention to the north into Montana and northwestern North Dakota, keeping in tabs on that area. And that's the area we're watching tomorrow on Thursday, August 21st, eastern and central Dakotas extending eastward here into Minnesota, and then dragging that cold front further south along and ahead of it. We could be seeing some severe weather from Lake Superior all the way back toward Iowa, Nebraska, and getting into the Front Range in northeast Colorado once we end the week on Friday, August 22nd. As we always do, let's look at the central U.S. first, eastern U.S. second, and western U.S. third over the next couple of days. This afternoon, outside of a few isolated, widely scattered thunderstorms from Texas eastward into the Dixie Alley, things should stay relatively quiet. Now, it does probably into the Midwest look a little bit cloudier today, but those are some low clouds outside of a few sprinkles or a light shower. No meaningful rainfall as we go through the rest of today. Going into tomorrow, we got that cold front starting to make its way into the northern U.S., bringing a chance for some showers and storms. A few of those could be severe with 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. The tornado threat should remain low up there in the Dakotas and Minnesota tomorrow. And then as we go into Friday, additional storms may fire up ahead of the cold front. Notice though the coverage going to be very isolated, so it doesn't look like everybody will see storms, but if you do, locally heavy rainfall, a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, and a quarter-size hailstone may be possible going into Friday evening. Eastern U.S. got some showers. A rainy Wednesday that was promised in our forecast yesterday is coming to fruition across portions of eastern Pennsylvania, including the Poconos, up there into southern New York, and extending toward Boston and New York into Massachusetts there, into the Hartford area of Connecticut. That'll continue into the afternoon, just kind of a dreary day there across the I-95 corridor. Some showers and storms may pop up in the heat of the afternoon across the southeast, and then as we go into Thursday, drying up across the northeast, and we still have the afternoon pulse thunderstorms. They develop with the heat of the day. As the sun starts to warm up the ground, we get some scattered storms in the southeast, and then as we go into Friday, much of the same across areas of the southeast. Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Florida. The northeast, though, is going to be dry mostly on Friday. Western United States this afternoon, we're going to be seeing some showers and storms on an isolated to widely scattered coverage, especially the central and northern Rockies, and underneath of that high pressure system too. Down here in Arizona and New Mexico could see a few of those. And then as we go into Thursday, we're going to see those as well. Clockwise flow around the high pressure system. So underneath of it, the storms here in New Mexico and Arizona will be tracking from east to west. Over the top of it, from Idaho into Wyoming and Montana, the storms will be tracking from west to east just because of the clockwise flow with our high pressure system. And then as we go into Friday, again, much of the same. We're going to be seeing quite a bit of storm activity into the desert southwest as we start to transition a different pattern into the end of the week. Now, looking here at next week in general, big time trough across the northeast and up into the Great Lakes region from Monday, August 25th through Friday, August 29th, and that will steer even more cool air from Canada southward into the eastern two-thirds of the United States, whereas the real heat will continue here all across the Pacific Northwest, but especially Western Canada, British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan going to be above normal to even well above normal, with your temperature anomalies up there bending about 20 degrees above normal by next week. Now let's look at those morning lows. Again, as we start next week, could be talking even some patchy frost in some isolated areas, especially in and around Lake Superior, any valleys there into the upper Midwest. Very early for frost, by the way, in late August, so we'll keep a tabs on that. But early next week, I mean, outstanding temperatures, 60s, 50s even for highs at times, and delightful even going into Tuesday, August 26th, with widespread mid and upper 60s, low 70s, lower humidity. Even the Gulf Coast, hey, we'll take upper 80s, low 90s with lower humidity. That is for sure. Now, as we start to transition this pattern with temperatures, our precipitation pattern will change as well. Areas in the upper Midwest and the Ohio Valley that have been wetter will trend drier next week, and areas in the southern plains and desert southwest that have been drier as of late will turn wetter as we go into next week, and much wetter at that, as we can see see a lot of that northwest flow coming off the Rockies into the southern plains and bringing daily chances for heavy rain and thunderstorms to the south. Now, this won't provide a threat for severe weather, at least on a widespread scale, but there could be isolated strong to severe storms daily here, with mainly a damaging wind and hail threat across the Red River Valley. And that's the area that is most likely to see the most widespread heavy rainfall, including the Sooner State of Oklahoma and the Lone Star State of Texas, likely being the recipients of the heaviest rainfall, although Colorado, New Mexico, and parts of southern Kansas could also receive some heavier rainfall from this going into next week. Again, Monday, August 25th through Friday, August 29th is the time frame we're keeping an eye on. Now, going into the first week or so of September, that cooler air that we see in late August, well, it has some staying power as we have a trough that's going to retrograde from the northeast westward in toward the mid and upper Mississippi Valley. All that's going to do is pull the cooler air a little bit further west and southwest. We are going to build some heat over the top, so southern and southeastern Canada, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec will start to warm up a little bit with the high pressure up there, but the south will start to cool down just a bit as we go into early September. A little bit of uncertainty here in the placement, but there is good guidance that is showing above normal precipitation coming back into the first week of September for the Mississippi Valley with the European Ensemble extended guidance. The GFS, the American Ensemble extended guidance, just a touch further to the west. So we have to work that out here in the next few days. We'll try and figure that out. But again, there will be some drier areas. Yes, there will be some wetter areas as we go into early September. Again, there's some uncertainty, exact placement of that. We'll figure it out as we do get closer. Now let's look here at the tropics. It is very active in the Atlantic, right? We have Hurricane Erin. We have another system that has a 60% chance of development right behind that, north of the Leeward Islands, and another system coming off of Africa has a 40% chance. So it's very active there in the Atlantic, that is for sure. So let's check out the satellite view, and what a beast Hurricane Erin is spinning there. Again, eye wall replacement cycles have been a natural thing that has happened over the past couple of days. This is starting to steer a little bit closer to the Outer Banks, but still far enough offshore to bring any real big significant impacts to land. However, there could be a little bit of some tropical storm force winds moving in toward Cape Hatteras as we go into overnight tonight, early on Thursday, and then some stronger winds just offshore the Mid-Atlantic and New England coastline, including Cape Cod as we go into Friday morning, and that could bring some 30 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts there to the Outer Banks and up there towards the eastern seaboard. Now, as we zoom this out, this is going to be moving up toward Atlantic Canada, just south of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland as we go into the weekend there on Friday into Saturday. Again, the tropical storm force winds, the hurricane force winds are going to likely remain well offshore of any area there of Atlantic Canada. Now, this is going to be a large storm, so it will be bringing some dangerous and life-threatening rip current risks to the eastern United States, whether you're in Florida, you're in Massachusetts or Maine or even Nova Scotia. Watch out for the rip current risks here across portions of the eastern seaboard, as wave heights there just off the Outer Banks of North Carolina could be approaching 15 to 20 feet overnight tonight into Thursday, and then some higher wave heights just offshore of the New England coastline and mid-Atlantic coast as we go into Friday. I think areas up toward Maine, while there still could be rip currents, I think the waves will be pretty less up there. As we zoom it out, Nova Scotia, bigger waves arrive by Friday into Saturday, Newfoundland on Saturday into Sunday, and then that just scoots along into the North Atlantic and is a distant memory once we go into Sunday, August 24th. Now, behind it, we do have a 60% chance of development is in the central and western Maine development region. This system is likely to bend even further out to sea, and that is likely to be named Fernand, has a 60% chance of development over the next 5 to 7 days. Looking at the ensemble guidance, again, high confidence that this system is going to bend out to sea. Now, we still have to watch our friends over there in Bermuda. It doesn't also appear to be as strong of a system as Erin, but it does look like there's quite a few members that bring this into Category 1, even Category 2 strength out here into the waters, open waters, I should say, of the Atlantic. And obviously, the GFS ensemble guidance is a little bit more biased toward a western solution. While it's not impossible possible. I think it's bending a little bit further to the north with time, so Bermuda may have to watch this. Other than that, the fish out in the sea, and that's pretty much it. Now, looking here at the Pacific side, things are pretty quiet over here over the next 7 days. National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, not expecting any tropical activity over the next 7 days over here. So what has started with a very active hurricane season for areas near Hawaii and near Mexico and the East Pacific and Central Pacific Basin will continue to remain at a respite from any active weather out there over the next several days. The long-range tropical outlook as we go through September 2nd, it's mainly the main development region we have to watch, and those storms will likely curve out to sea with a weaker high-pressure Bermuda ridge that's likely to have those systems curve out to sea, so Bermuda may have some impacts into the long term. Going into the second week of September, some of those may take a run toward the Caribbean. We also may have to watch the Yucatan and potentially the Western Caribbean again for some hurricane activity, and that won't happen until the second week likely of September. Thank you all for watching, folks. If you did enjoy my forecast, you found it helpful, informative, life-saving, make sure to subscribe to my channel. We're going to have daily forecast updates. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your support, and have a wonderful and safe rest of your Wednesday out there.